In this video, we're going to go over one of the most overlooked, misunderstood concepts in all of sales, specifically in the high ticket space. This is the thing keeping closers stuck at $10,000, $20,000 a month. This is what's keeping business owners capped, not being able to scale past $100,000 a month. It's not your script. It's not your marketing. It's not really even your sales process. It's this one thing that you might be overlooking. It's the fact that you have different prospects at different tiers. And in this video, we're going to go over the prospect tier matrix. So we're going to break down what are all the different types of prospects? Why does it matter what tier they're at? Because based on the tier that they're at, you have to switch your sales methodology, your sales approach. And if you're still using the same copy-paste script or a cookie cutter thing that you got online or for some course where you just ask a bunch of questions with the right tonality and somehow think that's going to close all the deals, I promise you, you are leaving so much money on the table. And I'm excited to dive in. And before we do, let me just preface with one thing. I'm not sharing this as my own opinion or, whoa, look at me. I'm talking about someone who's been actively in sales for over 15 years. Started out doing door-to-door sales, B2B sales, MLM, high-ticket sales. And the only thing I've obsessed about throughout my whole journey, from investing my money, from all my work, all my effort, is becoming world-class and taking everything that I learned from all the different sales modality, including the coaching world, and bringing it all together into what is known as the NBC sales system. And today I'm going to be going behind the scenes to teach you the prospect tier matrix so you can understand, okay, this prospect is at this tier. Therefore, I have to change my sales approach. I have to change the sales process. I can't just go in and ask them a bunch of questions. And to tease you a little bit, if you're in there asking, what are you doing? What's going on? How's that showing up? Why not double? And you're asking all these questions. And you're getting people who are giving you flat answers, telling you, send me an email, let me think about it, all of that. How are you guys different? You are unknowingly triggering that because you didn't adapt your process into a way that is conducive and appropriate to your current prospect. And here's the crazy thing. To even prove this actively live every single week outside of my own businesses, I'm selling on new offers in different industries and niches that I've never been in and maintaining over an 80% closing rate. And side note, if you want to see some live sales calls and in action, you can click the link in the description below here. Join our free Ascenders Tribe community and go much deeper. So let's jump in and make some magic. I'm going to be breaking it all down for you visually. So you're going to see the iPad. We're going to go into it. And we're going to start talking about the different tiers. There's 4 main ones that you need to obsess about. And the first one we're going to talk about is the tier 1 prospect, which you are probably the most familiar with, which is what we call the buyer. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. The buyer is someone, okay, think about this. There's someone that already knows they have a problem. It doesn't matter what you sell, info, coaching, done-for-you service, consulting, it doesn't matter. They already know they have a problem. They're like, man, you know what? I'm struggling with my ads. I'm struggling with my weight. I'm struggling in my relationship. They already know I'm in pain. I'm struggling. Things are not good. I'm not super happy. I'm not super satisfied. They already know they have a problem. It's not a question if you're one of their friends and you met them and you're like, hey, what's going on in your world? They're like, yeah, man, I'm struggling with this. Very problem aware. There's no surprise. There's no question about it. But here's the caveat. And this is where your brain, as we progress here, might start having some shifts and paradigms, is because someone's always going to go, well, and ask, you don't understand, well, I'm at a 30% closing rate. I'm at 40%, and they feel like it's good. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Because all you're doing is your process currently works pretty good or well enough for the tier 1 and tier 2 prospects. But most companies do not have enough marketing, budget, branding, scale, efficiency to keep flowing tier 1 and tier 2 prospects through the pipeline, which means a bulk of your leads, your prospects, your opportunities that you're going to be speaking to are going to be a lot of tier 3, and that's where the magic happens, which we'll get into, and also some tier 4 opportunities. So if you don't learn how to distinguish them and how to adapt, because we're going to go into each one, what you need to do, the little nuances to help you effectively close each one. So tier 1, as I explained, is like, okay, generally, they don't just know their problem, they actually are bought into you as the savior, as the mecca, as the only solution. Generally, they've been following the influencer, the business, the company. They've heard of you. They're a referral, right? There's already so much pre-selling that happened for them. They are the known entity. They're the known brand. The solution is known. So not only do they know their problem is done, like sometimes you call them, some people will call them the lay me down sales, right? So if we look at it, we're going to start bucketing it. They know their problem. Very clear. okay? And you just think about what you sell and how that is relevant. The thing is, they know you are the solution. You are the solution. So what happens is, and there'll be a separate video for this so you can see about push-pull selling from the NBC sale. So I just want to briefly explain it here in 2 seconds. Push selling and pull selling. Pull is essentially when you're just pulling data, when you're pulling things from your prospects. So what a lot of salespeople, especially in the high ticket world, which is insane, they're just taught that somehow you're going to sit on your fancy chair, and because you're super cool, you could just take a prospect and you say, okay, what made you book in today? What's going on in your situation? What's led you to think that something is wrong or cause you to believe that you got to make a change? What's going on here? And you just ask all these questions like they're coming into an FBI interrogation chamber, and you just ask them all these questions. So that's a lot of pull selling. The problem is you probably don't have the framing, the branding, the status, and all of that all the time with all your prospects to be able to take someone and just ask them all these questions. Where does tier one show up? Okay. In the real world, so you can kind of relate it to the business side. Because I want to give you business. I'll talk about different offer examples. Okay. So tier one, and I don't want to belabor it, is think of it when you go to the doctor. You go to a doctor, you've heard maybe like the doctor frame. You have a problem. You're like, hey, I have a headache. My head hurts. My neck hurts. So you go to the doctor. What does the doctor do? They don't have to sell you on their qualifications. They don't have to explain to you why they're so amazing. They don't have to explain their hospital, their clinic, all of that. Okay. You've already done your research because a tier one prospect is done research. They've already done the research. So they know this is the clinic, this is the doctor, this is the person, this is the provider. So they go in, they'll start, okay, you go in, doctor goes, when did this problem happen? Okay, cool, my neck hurts. Okay, what changed in your diet? What changed in this? Are you having sex? Are you taking drugs? Are you doing this? Are you doing that thing? And they drill you a million questions, and it's not weird because they have the frame, they have the authority. You're in their house, hence the doctor frame, as some people will refer to it, is they have full authority to ask you all these questions because you're the one with the problem. You're the one asking for their help. You're the one coming literally physically to their door. Maybe now you're doing some of the virtual stuff, but you are coming to them. So they have free reign to ask you anything. And without you knowing the person personally, you already, because they're a doctor in this hospital and clinic and so on, and you probably paid money, they already trust that they're going to be the one. So you're whatever, generally, for the most part, they're going to give you like, you're the solution, you're the thing, I want what you have. That's why when they flip you a bill, they say, hey, you need to go get this exam, this, that. You don't even question it. You're like, cool, what's next? What's the next step? What's the next step? Even if they hit you with a massive bill, prescription, all of that, and you got to fight to make sense of the money, you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to do it. So tier one is what we call a lay me down sale. And the problem is, pull selling is where you just ask all the questions, which is what some reason most people in the high ticket space are brainwashed that you could just go pull your way through all your sales, which is not real. Pull selling is pretty effective in a tier one. There's not much talking you have to do, right? You've heard, oh, he or she who talks the most loses, like you got to not talk. That's kind of nonsense, okay? And if you don't believe me, think about your day-to-day interactions on a date with your friends, with your partner, with your family, anywhere. I'm like, do you just sit there and ask them questions? It's like, no, that would just be weird. So I'm like, why are we doing this weird thing in sales? So on the tier one side, the key distinction is they are financially resourceful. Okay, it doesn't mean they have the money. It just means because they know their problem, they're aware of it, what's going on in their world, all that kind of stuff, is that they can go and figure out how to get the money. They have credit cards, loans, they'll go sell stuff, they'll go find their friends, all of these things will happen. So I don't want to spend too much time on the tier ones, but I just want you to know that you can almost get away with almost any sales process with the tier one because they're kind of already sold. You can ask them any question, you can ask them a whole bunch of stuff, and usually your marketing, your branding, the severity of their problem. Maybe you're the only one that is qualified to serve them in that industry, in that thing, that they're like, I don't have a choice. I just got to go to you. I just got to go to you. I just got to go to you, right? So you can get away with it. And that's what tricks salespeople. So imagine someone, a closer, who's at 40% closing rate, and they're like super happy. But the reality is 4 out of the 10 leads they got were tier one prospects, maybe a tier two in there, which we're about to jump into. And they close them and like, man, I have such a high close rate. Do you know what happens when they get a different tier of prospect? What do they say? They say, oh, it's a bad lead. I hate the word pains me to say. They say, oh, it's a brokey. They say, oh, look at that. It's a shit prospect. They just like belittle. I was like, no. Hold on. You just never learned how to sell the different ways to the different tiers. So anyone who's not at tier one, because sometimes people can get in their own way, they're like, if they're not that, they're a bad lead. And there is no such thing as bad leads. The only 2 questions you should always ever ask yourself as a sales professional is, can we help this person? And do we want to help this person? Very important, the want part. If we can help them and we can want them, if you do not close them, that is your responsibility. That is your responsibility as a salesperson. That is what being a professional is. That's where you have to go review, skill up, get a coaching, buy a course, practice with your friends, because you're like, wait, we could have helped this person, but we failed them because we couldn't actually close them. That's your responsibility. So don't get caught up in the closing rates and the this and this, or buy into the belief that because you have an X percentage, the percentage is irrelevant. It's how many people are actually helpable that you guys can help, that you want to help, that fall out of your pipeline. That's what this is about. So the tier ones, okay, and hopefully you're identifying from your previous sales calls as we go through this, you're like, okay, you know what? I have been getting a lot of tier ones. So then, and ask, what the heck is the tier two? And the only key distinction about tier one, I'll just end it off, is they just require low energy. Okay, in terms of you trying to sell them, it's a low energy sale. It's not hard. You can go in, half engaged, half bought in, any of that kind of stuff, and the magic happens on its own. So the next tier that we go into is the tier two prospects. Woo! Tier two prospects. Are you ready for this one? Okay, and do you know what the tier twos are? They are, and these are the ones that probably grind your gears, the shopper. Okay, they're not a window shopper. Okay, a window shopper just always looks at the store, and in theory, if you know what it is, they look around, but they never buy anything. A shopper is, no. I know I have a problem. Okay, so they're not delusional. They know they have a problem. And sometimes the key distinctions, if you pay attention, especially more on the A type, more on the successful type, more on the people further in the journey, a lot of times they don't call it a problem. Okay, so sometimes they call it, what do you call it? They call it stuck. Sometimes they call it not scaling. Okay, sometimes they call it not fast enough. Is this ringing a bell? So you try to get them on a call, and they don't say, oh, my world is on fire, or all this kind of stuff. They say, oh, it's not moving fast enough. Or, we've kind of been growing. We're just not moving at the pace that we like. So sometimes don't get hung up that they're not saying I have world pain and fire. They just use different terminology, okay? And in it, here's the thing is, the distinction is they're not clear that you are the end all be all. So meaning, hence the shopper, is they're like, okay, well, I don't know if you're the solution. So let's say you sell fitness. Okay. They're like, well, I was watching this guy, King Keto, looks incredible. And then I'm seeing this guy, there's a Ashen Hall, he looks incredible. There's this biohacker guy, Dave Asprey. There's a Ben Greenfield guy. Then there's Dr. Mark Hyman. Okay, he talks about a pegan diet. Pegan, is that vegan? Is that paleo? That's what it is, right? And then they're like, wait, but then Tony Robbins, he's all about longevity. So they're like, I know I need to fix something in my health. I know I need to have more energy. I need to lose some weight. I need to work on my butt. Like, they know they have this problem, but they don't really know which one is the solution, right? You're like, is it this guy? Is it this gal? Is it this person? So they're in the shopper mode. And this is what frustrates a lot of salespeople, is they think because someone clicked on their ad or responded to their form or responded to a CTA on a DM or replied to an email, or you send them this SMS saying, if you want this review or this audit, like, hit me back. And they're like, yes, I got them. So they think because someone responded, in their mind, they're like, it's a tier one. So they think any level of intent, any level of interest, 2% interest, 5% interest, 20% interest, they're like, it's a tier one. So you could already see where the trap happens. They treat them and sell to them like they sell a tier one. And, there's odd cases, it is a tier one, but a lot of times it's like, no, like, you got to go way deeper. And I'm going to say a word that might get me canceled. It's so scary to say this online. Oh God, please bear with me. Please have mercy on my soul. You actually, it's so weird to say, you have to persuade people. I'm so sorry to say it. You have to persuade people. People don't like the word of like convince. Like, it doesn't sound sexy, and it's easy to market. No. People need you. They're coming to you. They're the ones with the problem. They're in your house. You should just ask them questions. You're the have this. It's like, well, no. People need to be persuaded all the time. You need to be persuaded to get up on time. You need to be persuaded to say no to the Netflix thing and not eat this thing. I'm like, do we not? I'm like, the amount of times I have to be like, Anas, get up, move, do your meditation, get up. I'm like, I have to persuade myself. Anas, don't eat this thing. Like, all the time. Okay? Your friends call you out, or your partner calls you out. Someone's like, hey, let's go do this thing. And you're like, I don't know. I don't want to go on a hike. I don't want to go watch this movie. I don't want to go on this outing. I don't want to go have this dinner. What do? They persuade you. It's a crazy concept. Okay? So the minute you hear the word persuade or any of that, you start to enter this crazy land of push selling. Okay, push selling is this magical act of persuading through communication, through stories, through analogies, through metaphors, right? Through concepts, case, anything where you are pushing out and not just asking a question. And before we even continue to the rest of the tiers and how this all applies, I want to ask you a very silly question. Have you ever bought something online, in person, over the phone, anything, without ever being asked a question? I want you to think about that. Have you ever saw an ad, someone spoke to you, you clicked low ticket, high ticket, whatever it is, and you bought the thing without ever speaking to someone? Have you ever been at an event and a speaker spoke on stage, never spoke to you directly, one-on-one, said some stuff, all of a sudden, here's my credit card, where's the order form? Have you ever had someone convince you, because life is sales, you're either selling or you're being sold. Have you ever had someone show up and convince you, I'm using this word intentionally, convince you to do something that you didn't want to do? Go out, eat this thing, have this extra drink, stay up, don't stay up, go to this trip, fly here, come to this event. Did they go and ask you 72 questions with the right tone and sometimes curious and sometimes skeptic and sometimes playful and this to convince you? What did they do? They push. They're usually like, come on, man. Like, and think of, especially when you were younger, someone's trying to convince you, oh, I have work, I have to study, I have to this. No, it's all good. We're all going to get ended this time. It's going to be this. It's good. Like, we innately as humans know how to do some of this push selling stuff. Okay. And I saw this because it was so interesting. When you come from a heavy outbound world, like when I go B2B and I look at door to door is very push sell heavy. Okay. B2B is kind of a balance in between. And but in door to door, you still have to pull, you still have to ask questions, you still have to do all of that. In B2B, you still have to do it. But then somehow there's this weird aura about the high ticket sales. I don't know where it originated. I'd love to give credit, where people were bought into this hypnosis that you are the glorified, messiah, that you just sit on your chair and ask the person questions and then they throw you money. It's not real. It's a song and dance. And the balance comes when you go, okay, and ask, well, what am I supposed to do? It depends on the tier that they're at. Okay. If you have a prospect that is a tier 2, the lower they go on the tier. So from tier 1, very low push selling. It's a 10% push if needed, 90% pull. That's 90% of you just asking questions, not much you adding on. And this changes your presentation, because in your presentation, people are taught the 3 pillars, which is insane to me that people are still presenting like that. But they go, oh yeah, pillar 1, 2, 3, and they're taught, don't spend much time on it. Don't go deep into it. Just cover the couple things. Don't get lost in the weeds. Don't answer it, right? I'm like, yeah, you could do that tier 1. Amazing. The minute you get to tier 2, now you're kind of at this like, oh, it's a 60-40 split. It's a 70-40, 70-30 split sometimes. Like, you have to do a lot more pushing. You can't just present for 3 minutes on a couple pillars and hope that they buy. You actually have to go deeper. You have to share more stories. You have to do a lot more pre-handling. You have to change a lot of narratives, because guess what? In this world, with AI, with the technology, post-vid, all this kind of stuff, it's a very competitive world. And anyone can now go shop you and compete you and compare you and look you up in your reviews. And the minute you click their ad, guess what every platform is doing? Show them 72,000 ads of all your competitors within the span of 5 days. So where do you think you stand in terms of your competition? I'm like, well, the good thing is, if everyone is doing copy paste, what I call a hashtag botland, is bots just go, here's the question, this question, next question, next question, they just compute. If everyone's doing a lot of the copy paste, generic questions that everyone's doing, well, the good thing is it's easy to smoke your competition, because they're all just doing the same thing. So that's why when you hear your prospect, how many times you got on a call, they're like, you all sound the same. I've heard this a million times. I've done this so much. How are you different? Can you just get to the price? They're just so irritated, because when someone speaks like, okay, brother, sister, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm sure you're a nice person, but like, I've heard this spiel. Notice these words. How can I tell you these words? I already know what they say, because that's what they say to most people, because they're all doing the same thing. Rinse and repeat the same thing, right? So watch this. In all of this, when it comes, we're like, okay, well, if we go back to the tier 2 and the tier 2 doesn't know that your solution is the end all be all. They're not. So maybe your marketing's not there, your branding's not there, they don't follow you. Tier 2s, usually you'll start to see tier 2s come from an ad. Okay, tier 1 might come from, they follow the brand, all of that. You're retargeting a very warm audience, that type of thing. Tier 2, okay, maybe they just hit an ad. It doesn't matter what you sell. So they're problem aware. They know their problem. They're like, hey, I know there's a problem. And, if your ad is good, the creative spoke to the problem, got them a little curious. You show them, hey, you have this new way or old way, or, you throw in rocks at that kind of stuff. So a lot of times when they're coming in, they're in shopping mode. They're not die hard about you. They don't owe you anything. So they're coming in here, and a lot of times they're like, yo, what do you got? That's the attitude that they come in with. They're not bad people. And I see the amount of times I've done thousands and thousands of call reviews, and I see like a rep visibly get offended that someone says, hey man, like, what do you got? What's the price? I'm like, that's a very valid question for someone to ask. Because they're like, I don't know. And here's the crazy thing. People ask ideal criteria. They ask like things like, so in your, in the next marketing company, in the next coaching program, in the next service, in the next XYZ, what are, 2 or 3 things that you're ideally looking for? And I'm like, well, the person doesn't know. If they did know, they would probably be a tier 1. Think about it for a second. Like, most people don't know what they're looking for. How could they know? They don't know everything that you offer. They don't know everything your competition offers. They also don't know, even if they knew what you offered, they don't know how what you offer ties into their unique situation and how it shows up. Because watch this. I'll always challenge. If someone says, well, an ask, they should know. I'm like, okay, cool. So tell me, what are you looking for in your next sales coach? You're going to say a script? Okay, cool. What else? Accountability? Okay, cool. Sounds pretty big. What else? A script, accountability, and some call reviews. Okay, cool. Is that it? Okay, cool. Well, great. We do that. Like, that person can't give you answers because what are they going to give you? They're like, I think these are the things that I want. But you are the expert. You should know what that person wants. So I can tell you in all my coaching programs, one of the biggest things is call reviews, coaching, scripting, objection handling, role plays, all of that. But actually, one huge thing that all salespeople, whether it's the business owner, their team, or the setter, or the closer, do you know what everyone needs? You need community. You need a tribe. You need to be around people who have a heart of service, that want to grow, that want to serve, that want to be their best, that are also winning, that are thriving, that are learning, that they're making mistakes, that are growing and progressing. Because when you're in that movement, right? When you're in that movement, it's a different energy. You're no longer in your isolated solo world. When you're learning, getting one-on-one treatment, and you're in a group setting, and you're learning from other people, it's a whole different world. And also in the coaching programs, I will go and close for my clients so they have those call recordings and they collect the payments and they have that and hit record months throughout the whole process. So when you start to see it, it's like, well, how could you know that it's even a thing? If someone says, I want a call review, I'm like, do you even know what to look for in a call review? So it's like you can't actually know what you're asking for. So the point of what I'm trying to get at is, well, a tier 2 doesn't per se know what they're looking for. They just know I have this problem. So a lot of times they show up and they're like, yeah, like I'm trying to be convinced, like I'm trying to be persuaded, I'm trying to be sold. Like I want to be sold. Do you understand? A prime example we had for one of my clients, and we had some systems issue, and it was past the scope of a realm of expertise on my end and on my team's end. So we're like, okay, these are complex. Like this goes like in the top echelons of complexity. So I'm like, okay, we're not equipped to support this. Let me go get some expert help. So here's the thing. I'm like, I don't know the systems and automations and how the thing from Google to Facebook to this to that, how it's going to do that and update the dashboard and do the lifetime and then fit it back and then this form. Like, I don't know how to mechanically do that. So if I go, what am I doing? I'm a tier 2 prospect. I'm very aware we have this problem. We need to go fix it. I don't know who the solution is. Is it a company? Is it a freelancer? Is it this? What am I doing? I'm a shopper. I'm a tier 2 prospect. So I'm going around and I'm meeting with this person, with that company, with that team. What am I looking for? I'm like, someone just sell me. Don't go in and ask me, how long has this been going on for? What's the downstream impact of that? What happens if the situation gets worse? What if you do nothing? Well, why not just double down on what you're currently doing right now? Well, things sound like they're going pretty good. Like, what? Like, do you know what I mean? I could just spit these. I'm like, that would literally do nothing to solve my problem. I'm like, bro, I have the problem. I'm financially qualified. I want to invest. I just want to see what you got. That's kind of what I want. Do you see the point? Did I just sound like one of your prospects, or did I intimidate you? Did you see? So I'm like, yes, I have a problem. Take me through the sales process. I'm totally fine with all that. But I'm like, and if you went in and you said, yeah, we do all automations for you, I'm like, you'd lose the deal. You couldn't get the deal because I need to see the intricacies and I need to see the customization of this. And I need you to do a little bit of deeper dive on, right? And you might be like, well, and ask that example doesn't make sense. I'm like, no. Like you have to push a lot more. That person needs to present a lot more. They need to ask more deeper into me and actually give me specific value, actually give me specific context, actually go a lot deeper. So a lot of what I talk about when I teach in NBC sales is a bulletproof presentation. It's a bulletproof pitch, okay? However you want to call it. And the purpose of a bulletproof pitch is your goal is you have to close doors on all other alternatives. Okay, you have to close doors on all of the alternatives. And I'll give you an example, and this will help your tier 2 and tier 3 prospects as I learn. Okay, so I'll go a little bit deeper here. So let's say you sell I'll go fitness, and then I'll do a few other examples just to kind of give you the full picture. Okay, so let's say you do fitness coaching. Okay, and I go back to the example of, there's like keto, there's paleo, there's vegetarian, there's a million different ways that you can. Let's say the goal is to burn fat and put on muscle. There's a million different ways. So if I'm doing a bulletproof presentation and you're a tier 2 prospect and you're like, I know I need to lose weight and I want to have more energy and I could use some muscle. Throughout the sales process, I can't just pull, aka ask you all these questions and get you to close yourself. Because what I have to do is, you don't know all the other fitness opportunities. You don't know all the other health modalities. You don't know all the other options. I'm the expert, so I'm supposed to educate you on those to close those gaps. Because if I don't, guess what happens? You're most likely going to be like, man, this sounds really good. Anas, I love your fitness program. I need to think about it. Give me a week. I'm going to get back to you. Why? Because they're like, there's all these other options I haven't even explored, and I'm in shopping mode. I have to shop. I need to go get way more contacts on this thing, that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing. And once I go see all of those, then I'll kind of figure out what actually makes sense for me. Do you see how that works? So if my job is to sell you fitness, what I'd have to do is I'd have to, throughout the thing, educate you and teach you certain things. And let's say I sell a keto program, right? So then I'm like, okay, I have to show you why keto is the way to do it. I can't just ask you questions. How am I going to ask you a million questions that sells you? It would be forever. I'm like, have you ever eaten a bowl of rice and felt tired? Well, do you notice how this, I just can't go ask that. I'm like, yeah, so a lot of things, but most people don't know. So I'm going to show you some tactical thing is, a lot of things, most people don't know, and I'm just making this up for all my health friends, okay? Yeah, a lot of people, what they don't know is, a lot of times they think they're overeating because they got bad genetics and bad moods and bad this and that. A lot of it has nothing to do with that. It's like every person is biologically different, but one thing is congruent. It doesn't matter the macros that you eat. What matters more than counting the calories and all of that, of course that's important, is the timing of food and eating the right foods. Because if you eat the wrong foods at the wrong times, you know what it does? It causes cravings. It causes insulin spikes. So you have sugar crashes. You have all these cravings that come up based on the types of foods that you're putting into your body. Are you reactive? Are they inflammatory? Did they do all these things? But more importantly is, a lot of times, especially when we look at overeating for people, is when they're in a low energetic state, what do you think they go for? Caffeine and food. And sex sometimes, okay? But for the most part, it's caffeine and overconsumption. So they're like, hey, I feel bad. They have certainty in the fact that if they eat this food, they eat this thing, or they eat this donut, or they eat this chips because it has sugar and so much processed stuff, it does give you an initial energy hit. So they're in this this cycle of motivation bust and up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And they feel trapped forever because they're a victim to all the food, thinking they're broken and all these things. And I'm like, no, it's because they're putting in such wrong things in their body. Even if they're eating below their caloric needs, even if they're at a deficit, even if they're doing that, they're not going to get the body of their dreams. And it's going to feel like an uphill battle. And when you do diet, if you think about a diet, and that's what most people do, if you just take out the word T out of it, what is it? It's die. So people die for a living. So I'm like, our goal is not to give you a diet. We're trying to give you a lifestyle. And we want you to eat the foods that you want. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to have it in surplus, but we want to do it in a way that doesn't give you cravings, that doesn't give you the energy crashes, that doesn't give you the dependency. So this way, you don't just lose the weight, you build the muscle, but most importantly, you just feel way more alive. Because at the end of the day, there's looking good and feeling miserable, and then there's looking good and feeling phenomenal. And isn't the whole point of this to actually make you feel great, Mr. Prospect? Yeah, great. Okay, cool. So to kind of give you, one of the common misconceptions, people think you need carbs to have energy. You need to have, see how I'm going? I'm just trying to show you an example. And I can start now. I have to go explain to them what ketones are. Well, ketones are like your body just produces these, little things that just give you energy. Russell Brunson said it best in an example. He said, it's like a lot of these tiny little motivational speakers going throughout your body and just giving you energy. It's what our ancestors did. That's how they could survive for so many days without doing it. Well, that was fun. The camera overheated, so bear with me. Russell Brunson, ketones, motivational speakers, gives you energy, boosts you, lights you up, gives you the energy. So now I start, okay, well, the only way you can have the ketones, that's how our ancestors, the caveman, all that kind of stuff, that's how they survive, that's how they had the energy, is because when you deprive your body, boom, 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 and I'm going to explain, do you see how that works? Do you understand? This is that. Okay. And then now I'm like, oh, wow, their beliefs are shifting. They're opening up their minds, and I can go deeper, and I can ask them questions. Now I could ask, what are their thoughts? What are this? Have they tried? And then now it's a song and dance. Push, pull, push, pull. New thing to open up a belief, to change the narrative, to tweak it this way, that way, that way. And the whole point of a bulletproof presentation is your goal is to shut the doors on all the other alternatives. So if I'm taking you through I sell a keto coaching nutrition plan, whatever it is. I need you to be diehard that keto, not just keto with me is the only solution that exists on the planet, okay? Is the only thing that is out there. And it's not just about the nutrition and the keto, it's that your keto solution, your package, your offering, your thing is the only possible solution that exists for them. It's the same thing if you sell ads. If you go sell Facebook, you have to show them why Facebook is superior to PPC, YouTube, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. If you sell a info offer or a coaching offer, make money, we help you through this thing. Well, is it through FBA? Is it through is it through real estate? Is it Airbnb flipping? Is it this? You have to show them and close the doors and all the other alternatives that they're like, okay, this is the end all be all, and they need to be sold that this is not just the right vehicle, the right everything for them, that you are the exact perfect fit for them. And you do that, guess what? You're not just going to go and magically ask a million questions through your way through there. It's a mix of questions, so a lot of pull selling, and you have to mix in some of the push selling because you're trying to help them through. Because when you look at a tier 2, to bring it back to you, is they're ultimately exploring alternatives. Okay, so don't get offended. Okay, if I even spelled that, don't get offended if they're shopping around or they don't come in super bought in, they're super excited or any of that. It's you have to prep some stories, some analogies, some reframes, some deframes, some objection handles, some things that you can embed throughout the sale early on to help you through it. Okay, so tier 2, manageable, and some of the copy paste scripts, that kind of thing. Even if you follow Botland, you'll get away definitely with the tier 1s, and you'll get some of the tier 2s. But the real big lost opportunity, which trips up so many salespeople, is tier 2 and tier 3. So let's kind of jump in to the tier 3 phenomena. Woo! Tier 3, you ready for this? Are you ready for the tier 3? The persuadable. Okay, so what that means, persuadable. Perfect. Had to tweak that to get the spelling right for you, because I knew there was going to be a grammar savage that's going to come on here and write a essay. So I wanted to rob them of the satisfaction of doing that. Okay. So the persuadable. Do you know what the persuadable stands for? It's a very simple term. If you remember this one sentence, you'll have so much relief and clarity on all your upcoming sales calls. They are open to being influenced, AKA persuaded. So what that means is generally with a tier 3, and I'll kind of give you an example. Okay, so let's say it's the coming up weekend. The weekend is coming up. Okay, tier 1 version of, let's say it's your friend. Okay, and you're talking to your friend. Tier 1 would be like, yeah, man, I wasted the last 3 weekends. I'm sick of it. There's this show coming up. This DJ's coming. Drake's coming into town. I really want to see him. It's on Saturday. I'm going to be coming. Do you want to come with me? Tier 1. They know they wasted time on the weekends. They hate it. They already have this plan. They want to do this thing. Okay. Tier 2 version would be like, yeah, weekend's coming up. I don't want this to go to waste because I found a lot of times when I don't plan it, it just kind of goes through and I don't enjoy it and I don't feel good about it and I kind of regret it later on. So I'm kind of looking for things to do. I'm not sure. Maybe something outdoors, maybe something indoors, maybe with a group, solo, drink, not drink. I'm not sure. Like, what do you have in mind? See, tier 2, they're like, I know I have this problem, but I'm kind of open. Tier 3 would be the guy that you call and it's like, hey man, what are you doing this weekend? No plan. Not sure yet. They didn't say no. They didn't say I have definitive purpose. They didn't say I have clarity on my life. The world is not on fire. They're like, I'm not sure. They're like, well, do you want to go to a movie? Do you want to go to this thing? They're not no's. They're like, okay, maybe. Yeah, I could get back to you. So they're not closing the door. But what they're saying is, I'm open to being persuaded. I'm open to being influenced. Like if you build a compelling case, if you kind of, the dirty word, convince me, I'm ready to do it. And if you don't believe me, guess what? You have flipped tier 3s many times in your life. As I share this, if you think about it, it could be your friend, spouse, neighbor, partner, kid, teammate, boss, whatever the case may be. You have convinced someone who is not really open to it initially. You pushed your way through it a lot. You did a little bit of pull selling, but you actually changed them. They went from, I'm kind of open to being influenced, and it usually sounds like this. The transition when they're sold, they go, all right, screw it, let's do it. Right? And that's always the tell of, you've convinced me. But they don't say that. You're like, you persuaded me. A lot of times with tier threes, what happens is they are comfortable. Okay. And that's what messes up with salespeople. Like, things are good. Okay. Things are good. Sometimes it's a balance of they don't know what they don't know. Sometimes they're like, like things are fine, all that kind of thing. And usually when you're selling them, okay, if I say they are in the game, okay, what I mean by in the game is they're in your industry, in the thing that you do. So if you sell to business owners, this person is in the business that you serve. They are doing the thing that you're doing. They're not like brand new into the industry. They're actually, they got some clients. They're doing the thing. If they're in health, they're already doing the thing. If they're in a relationship, they're like, for instance, you sell dating, they're single. Like, they're in the thing and active, they're part of it. Single meaning they're sellable. So the point is, tier three is they're in your target, they're in your audience, they're in your, sphere of what you help. Things aren't on fire and things aren't remarkable. Things are just good. Okay. It's like, it could be good. It's like fine. Usually it's fine. It's good. Grateful. They'll say things like that. Right. But in all of it is they're open to being influenced. Things could be much better. Things could be much different. But the thing is, a lot of times they don't know what could be different. They don't know what could be changed. They don't know what actually greatness would look like. So sometimes they come in and they end up on your calls. They're like, oh no, I was just curious. They'll literally come on. They're like, I'm curious. So it can trick you in your mind. You're like, okay, and I said that's the shopper. It's a tier two. So I'm like, no, they're just like, I don't know. Like, they'll come on and you might feel frustrated. They'll come on and they're like, so what do you guys do? How does this AI thing work? How does this automation thing work? How does this program work? What's involved? What's in it? And they just come in, like, in your mind, they're like, how do they not know? Like, did they not see my emails? Did they not watch my follow-up sequence? Did they not do? They're just like, I don't know what I don't know. So it's that simple statement of, I don't know. What I don't know. And it's not a bad thing. Okay, it's not that. It's a lot of times they tried a bunch of things. They tried different solutions. They've tried different avenues. They've tried different things. They haven't gotten the result. They haven't gotten the breakthrough. They haven't had the consistent outcome. They haven't had the desired thing. And with those, the key distinctions with tier threes is they need to be led and coached. Okay, I'm gonna just pause on that for a second. They need to be led and coached, which means you need to be more assertive. Okay, you need to help them get clarity. So let me explain it. You need to help them get clarity. What usually they're missing is they're missing some clarity. They're like, well, I don't really know. Technically, you're further ahead, or you understand more, or you know better. So it's like, well, what is the thing that I should be asking? What should I be looking for? What should I be processing? And because you're the expert, you have to do all of that, and you have to help them brainstorm. Okay, you have to brainstorm plus seek clarity. I'm giving you different ways to just understand it and process it, and we can kind of go through a little bit of different examples. So let's say you're talking to a business owner. Doesn't matter what they sell. And they're looking at, this is a good one. Okay, let's say you're talking to an agency owner, someone who sells marketing services, for example. Okay, and right now they're doing a lot of cold calling. They're doing cold emails. That's how they get their leads and the prospects and who they service. And they're doing all of that. And let's say they're making $10,000 a month. And they respond to one of your ads. And you sell YouTube ads. Okay, the thing is that individual at $10K a month versus a $50K a month or $100K a month, it's a wildly different business. You have to have different team, you have different scale, operational complexities, all these different things show up. So if they come in, they might not be sold on YouTube, or if you sell Facebook, it doesn't matter, as a lead gen service, they just don't know. So you actually have to spend more time autopsying the business. Like, hey, how are you guys taking the sales calls? What's your current sales process? In terms of the content that you guys have, how are you nurturing the leads that you guys get? Is there any social proof? When you get the traffic from the emails and the cold calls, what's the setting process like? Are you getting them on a phone? Is it a Zoom? Is it a triage? Whatever What's your closing process like? How's it working? What's the follow-up like? What's the offer like? Maybe their offer isn't sufficient to make them enough, LTV and upfront cash and all of that to justify ad spend. Maybe their time to money is so far away and they don't know all these things. So in that process, you talk about ads and you're like, yeah, you got to spend, 30, $50 a day. And then you have a retainer and this and that. In their mind, like, that's like $7,000 on a term. Like, they're freaking out. It's not because your offer isn't the right fit. It's because they don't understand like how they even get there or what it looks like or how you kind of even build up to that. So guess what you have to do? It's a tier 3 process. They're not a bad process. They're just at a different journey. So if you think about it, they're less in the journey of where you're at, right? So now you have to help them be like, hey, let me kind of guide you through. Let me show you some of the steps. Let me show you some of the process. And guess what you have to do? Now the push selling has to go way higher. So it now inverses. So if you were, previously 70% pulling, 30% pushing, it now has to kind of flip. You have to 70% push, 30% pull, because you have to educate a lot. You have to teach them a lot of things. You have to show them. You have to explain to them based on your other clients what you see, what kind of happens, what's the natural progression, what it looks like, at what point they're going to need to make a hire, how they're going to make sense of the money, how does it work, how do they nurture it, right? You have to fill in all those gaps so they're like, okay, that actually makes so much sense. And then you have to do the opportunity switch and show them why they have to get paid media, and paid media has to be YouTube with you versus doing any other stuff, because you're going to go throw rocks at the other things and build a bulletproof pitch that they're super sold on YouTube. But you can't go sell them the YouTube ad services if they don't understand that. You follow? It's the same thing as you as a salesperson. It's a great example. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a closer, et cetera, it doesn't matter. Well, watch this. You might be in a position, right? The amount of times I'd hear someone, they're like, let's say they're struggling with closing. They're not where they want to be. They'll just say, I just have to work on my tonality. Like, wait, what? Like in their mind, they're like, if I just fix my tonality, I just need to learn an objection handling. In their mind, that's actually what they think. That's genuine what they think. And if I were to, let's say, coach them or go on a call with them, or someone on my team were to go do a deeper dive, it's like a lot of times you'll go and you're like, like they think they have an objection handling problem. I can tell you in my career, I've coached thousands of people. The number one common thing I get asked, okay, I'm a sales and high performance coach. So I go deep into psychology, persuasion, influence, leadership, productivity, energy, biohacking, all of that. And of course, all the sales mastery. And the number one question I always get is, if I ever ask a salesperson anything, like, I just need help with objection handling. They all think, I don't know what, they always think it's objection handling. And I can tell you, it is literally never been an objection handling problem. It's never been an objection handling problem. It never is an objection handling, but they think it's that. So then you have to go and coach them through. And then as you go through, like, let's say it's the sales scenario. Let's say I'm trying to show to you how what you think is the problem isn't the problem. Okay. When we go in and I start listening to, let's say you're saying I have a sales problem. I would probably listen to your set call and I would find maybe 7 problems. And I'm like, that's why the closing is struggling. You actually don't even have a sales problem. You have a setting problem. And it might even go further than that. You actually have a traffic problem. You have a marketing problem. And outside the marketing, it could be, how you're following up with them, what you're saying to them. Like, there's all these different little things. Well, why do you think you get an objection? If you don't know, I'll reveal a magic trick. Most objections are because you didn't build the buyer, you didn't empower them, you have to unpack a lot of people come with internal beliefs, external beliefs. There's so many things that you have to unpack early on in the sale. How you handle, I need to think about it is early on in the sale. How do you handle speak to my partner? It's early on in the sale. How do you handle, we don't have the budget, but like budget should not be a question that you get. It has nothing to do with learning this magical war track. It's actually a lot of the things that you do earlier on. You have to do some price juxtaposition. You have to do some price anchoring, right? You have to challenge some of the beliefs. You have to do a lot of cause and effect questions. You have to, bring them back to reality. You have to future pace. There's all these different things that you have to do. But in the salesperson's mind, they're like, I have an objection handling problem. Rightfully so. They don't know any differently. It's like, you can't be mad or upset about them. Right. So when I go in, it's like, well, that person is technically a tier 3. They might not even think that they have a sales problem. They might be like, it's just, this, or we have to up our leads, or we have to do all of that. But when you go in deeper, right? If we go back to this, is they're not closed off. They're like, oh no, like I'll hop on a call, or I'll look at that, or I'll click your ad, or I'll join your community, or I'll do this type of thing. You're like, I don't know what's happening. Okay. I'm not kind of sure what's in it for me. What's that? And if you are trying to sell them, the biggest thing you have to learn to do, oops, I deleted that, is you have to learn to coach, lead, serve them, and guide them. So tier 3s are an infinite amount of opportunity of people that you can change their lives and an insane amount. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can bring into the business and tens of thousands of dollars in commission if you learn how to serve at the highest level. One of the biggest things that the whole movement with the Ascenders and NBC sales is all about Sathel, serving at the highest level. And your only job as a salesperson ever and forever is to serve at the highest level by only caring about your prospects. Not about your paycheck, not about your company, not about your commission. It's you. Is always the same question. Can we help this person? Can I help this person? Do we want to help this person? Do I want to help this person? And if the answer is yes, you have to fight to make it work for them, okay? In tier threes, and this is what messes up a lot of closers, this is where the 50, 60, 70, 80% of closes that never get closed go. Think about this. When someone says, I have a 20% closing rate or 30%, that means 7 out of 10 people don't close. That's insane. You get on 10 sales calls, 7 people don't close. 7 lives you could have changed, you only got 3. That's insane. And do you know what happens is because they treat the tier threes like how they would sell to a tier 1. I'm like, you cannot go into a tier 3 and ask them a whole bunch of questions. I promise you that will blow up and flip on you every single time. You have to go way deeper. You have to have way more patience. And the tough part is it might push your call time a little bit longer. It might, okay? Tier 3s, you can still do 1 call closes. You might push to 2 calls. But the thing is about a tier 3 is when you help them, they come in hard, they commit, they become one of your best case studies, they become super loyal. They're not bad. Your job in a sale, don't bank on marketing to just get you tier 1s all day. I can tell you there are some businesses that I know that they will refuse to ever speak to someone who's not a tier 1. They will literally put a tier 2 back into the queue. Like, you have to watch all these videos, you have to get nurtured, you have to do all this stuff, and it's absolutely insane. The amount of times, it's so funny, as I'm recording this video, there was, and I won't name the companies because I don't want to slander, there were 3 different businesses that I actually wanted their offer. I was pretty familiar with it, all that kind of stuff. And, 2 of them were 50 grand offer, and the other one was about half of that. And even though I came in, I was basically a tier 1. If someone sent me a payment link, I would have bought, but didn't do it. I got on the call with the salesperson, and the salesperson in every single scenario unsold me from the offer. Because they came in and they gave me that cookie cutter treatment. I came in having just questions about the fulfillment and delivery. I was trying to understand a few of the nuances, like just trying to make sure it's fully relevant to me. And they refused to go deeper into the intricacies. It was the weirdest thing. And they're like, this is the process. This is how it is. And some of them are like, well, you have to go back and watch this video. You have to go. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm on the call. I'm a buyer. Like, please take my money. Just help me give you money, but just help me throughout the process. But they were so fixated on treating me because they're used to only selling tier 1s. And literally in their marketing, they're proud about, they let marketing do all their work. They're so fixated on this is how we sell to people. This is how we get them on board. This is what we do, that they kept me boxed into that sales process. And it turned me off so much that I bounced and I turned. And I'm like, that's just lost revenue for them. And do you know what they'll do? They'll literally look and be like, that guy, bad lead. Unqualified lead, bad lead. We didn't like him. We didn't want him. He was bad. So crazy. So crazy to me. So crazy to me. Right? So crazy. I recently referred someone to a business, and I told them they knew the price, also another 50 grand offer. And I said, hey, this guy has just invested double that amount. I think from what I know, you guys are the solution. Could you just get on and help him find alignment? He really needs this. And I just won't talk about the offer to not dispute it. And he went on, and let me just give you the short. The guy went on saying, like, I'm ready to buy. And Ash told me to come on. I just want to find out more so I can understand. And the salesperson said, oh, like, this is, we're not desperate for clients. We don't need this. And by the end of the call, they literally told the salesperson, the prospect, the person I referred, they said, was this call a waste of time? Yes. Am I going to forgive you? And they're like, yes. And when I hear something like that, I'm like, that person is so disconnected from service. They're so caught into the boxing people into their process. They are so fixated on my way. This is the only way. If you don't do this, and they're so rigid, and that's what keeps them in bot land. And when you don't understand that every time you lose 7 out of 10 deals, 6 out of 10 deals, 5 out of 10 deals, you are losing more money than you earned. One of the things that helped me out in my career, I would go on and make, $1,000 today, $2,000, and I'd make the money I calculated, but I also calculated how many lost deals I had. And that's what started over a decade ago, my obsession about being world-class in sales. It's because I would go and I'd remember come home and I'm like, I lost more money than I made today. And it would drive me nuts. And I would lose way more money so many days than I made. Even though I'm like, man, I made all this money, but I'm like, I lost all these deals. And I obsessed. I'm like, how do I get to 100% close rate? That was always my obsession. And that's why I'm like, it can't be that these people are bad or the leads are bad. I'm like, they're all just different. And what I'm trying to show you in this video, where I'm hoping you never look and treat prospects the same, is that they're all at a different stage. You're all at a different tier. And you have to change your approach based on where they're at. And not be frustrated and not be bothered, and understand they're going to be, based on the tier, a different sales process. You have to sell more. And you're like, how do I sell more? I'm like, great, go join the Ascenders community. It's free. We're literally live in there every week. We're live role plays, coaching. I will call review you. You'll watch me do live sales calls. There's training in the classroom. There's all that. It's insane. Just click the link down below if you want to go deeper. And outside of that, on what you could do on your own, outside of a program or anything investing, is you have to think, okay, well, if this person knew nothing, what story can I share for them? What question can I ask? What thing can I add? What experience can I share from one of my own clients? Like, you actually have to think deeper about your sales process of, well, if we're trying to help this person seek clarity and coach them through and give them guidance and help them have the breakthroughs and the clicks and everything, AKA brainstorm, be coached, seek clarity, find the answers. What do I have to say or do to help them do that? Because do you know what value is? If you got someone who's a little bit unclear, a little bit unsure, their world is not on fire, do you know what happens when you coach them through on a sales call? Guess what happens? They start to realize how much bigger their problem is. They start to realize how much worse things are. But more importantly, they also start to gain aspiration and ambition of how good things could be. Because like, holy shit, I didn't even know it could be so much better. I didn't even know people played at this level. I didn't even know these results existed. I didn't even know it was this possible, because I didn't know how to get there. I didn't even know that this was a pathway. I didn't even know that this was normal. I didn't even know it was this predictable. I didn't even know that it could be that done with you, done for you, because they don't know. So when you coach them and you do all of that kind of stuff, do you know what happens? That is value. When you give someone clarity, like I hope if you made it this far that you're having some clicks. What is that? You're getting value. I'm helping you seek clarity. I'm helping you seek understanding. I'm helping give value to you. You don't have to ever pay me anything, but you got value. So on a sales call, that's what the beauty is. I'm like, man, all the amateurs, they just throw all the tier threes. I'm like, that's millions of dollars that gets tossed around. I'm like, those people just don't know how to get served. It's like someone saying, A types are bad. I'm like, no, you just have to sell them differently based on the tier and all of that kind of stuff. So all of this, when we look at it, I'm like, when you show up and you serve and you coach and you lead and you help them get the clarity, that click, that value they get, they attribute to you, your offer, your business. And I promise you, they will be running towards you, working to be like, okay, how do we go deeper? How do we go deeper? Because now they're invested. They understand. And here's the thing. Once they're tier 3, you're just essentially moving them up to tier 2. Now they're like, wow, I'm very aware of my problem. I kind of understand what's going on. Now you're telling me there's all these solutions. That's why I say it takes a little bit long. Now I'm aware, I could go in all these different avenues. I could do keto. I could do this. I could do Facebook. I could do YouTube. I could do Amazon FBA. I could do this. There's all these different funding options. Like whatever the offer is that you're selling. So now they're in tier 2 stage. Now you just close the doors on the other alternatives, you know, and you show them that your path, your vehicle, your solution is the end all be all. And that's how you kind of get them bought in and committed to you. And that's how you get the same day closes, next day closes, all of that, because you 100% can close all of them same day every single time when you learn to serve and show up at a world-class level that no one else is doing. Okay. And that's where the magic happens. The infamous tier 4, baby. Okay. When we look at tier 4, tier 4 is going to really get you. Okay. I'll keep it super simple. What is a tier 4? A tier 4, okay, is the unknown. Do you know why we call them the unknown? The unknown is because usually, and again, I'm saying usually, they are a bit of a hot mess. They're all over the place. They're usually your newbies early into the game, okay? And the thing with that is there's so much that's unclear. A lot of uncertainty. A lot of things just aren't clear to them. They don't know it, and they have ignorance. And I don't mean that in a flippant way. Ignorance isn't, they're just like, I just don't know. Like, they don't know what they don't know. That's why it's the unknown. They're unknown to you. You're like, I don't know what I'm going to get. It's like a Pandora's box. They might not know all these things. They might have no context. They might not have no clarity. They might not have any of that. Those can be closed also. They might take 1 call. They might take 2 calls. They might take even 3 calls. Okay. It is a longer sales cycle. The benefit of that is they are the absolute most loyal clients you'll ever have. Okay, most loyal clients when you get them on board. And the other thing is they're great practice. And here's what I mean. Okay, if you are new into the business and you don't have an abundance of lead or you're not have a massive traffic source, I'm like, you take all the tiers. You take all the tiers, and tier 4 is great practice. You get to practice going deep with someone. You get to practice your coaching. You're like, well, Anas, how do I get better at practicing the tier 3s? I'm like, go sell tier 4s. Okay? Because it takes a lot of thinking, patience, love, empathy, care, service, all of that. And you understand where they get stuck, where they're lost, all that kind of stuff. And it might take 2 calls to close them. Might even take 3. Might take a couple of follow-ups. Because sometimes what tier 4 is, they could just be early into the game. You might be selling someone, if I just use a business example, and they're getting offer clarity. Like they don't even have an offer clarified and they have no results and no case studies. So maybe the thing you do, you help them and you can actually help them, but they just need to get in momentum. So maybe on the call, you kind of coach them, you give them a little bit of insights, help them with an exercise, you give them a resource so they can go execute. And it's like, hey, go get your first 2 beta clients. Just go get 2 clients. Once you get a result, come back. And they come back. And guess what? They come back, they're like, wow, I got 2. Now it's so much unknown. So okay, dude, how do I renew? How do I fulfill? How do I get more? How do I duplicate this? Do I create content? Do I do that? Right? There's all these different things that happen that they're like, okay, I don't know where to go from here. Okay. So when we talk about them being a hot mess, it doesn't mean that they're bad. They're just generally earlier in the game. They don't know a lot of things. It's so much unknowns. And in those, you have to coach a lot. You now, the push-pull selling, it's like a 90-10. It's like 90% you're just going deep, going deep, going deep, going deep. You have to educate so much. You have to show them so much. You have to paint the gap. You have to do all that kind of stuff. And that's why they're the unknown. And I don't recommend taking many sales calls of tier 4s. I think everyone should take it because it gets you some reps and practice. If you're at a place that you have any experience or you have traffic sources that you don't have the issues of not having deals, I would prioritize all the other tiers and I would skip the tier 4s. The unknown is not somewhere we need to do. If you're hiring someone new, it's a good thing to just get their feet wet, to practice, to kind of go learn, be of service, all of that. And if you're new into the game, you get no picking, you get no preference, nothing of that nature. You just have to be like, okay, I'm going to go do the reps. So you do all that. So now when we kind of go overall, you're like, okay, Anas, what do we got? We got the buyers, very easy, clear forward. You can pull your way through. You can kind of get away with most things. Okay, they know the problem. They know that you're the solution. They've done their research. They're financially resourceful. Okay, requires low energy. The shopper definitely requires more energy. Okay, so these guys require more energy. You have to put some love into it. They know the problem, right? A lot of times people talk about their problems. They don't know, they don't call it problem, stock, it's not going fast enough. It's not scaling. It's not moving. Sometimes egos get involved, all that kind of stuff, but they're just shopping around. And your job is to be like, hey, we are the last shop that you need to visit. Sir, ma'am, this is it. This is the one shop. Let me show you why. There is that element of you kind of got to work it through and kind of show them all of those little intricacies, okay? And then you got the tier 3, the persuadables. And those are my favorite because almost no one ever sells them. And there's so many of them, and they're great clients. They're great people to help. They're incredible. They just need to be persuaded. They're like, I don't know what I don't know. I'm open to be influenced. Things are good. Things aren't bad. But, if you spend a little bit of time with me, show me and help me understand why my situation could be different, should be different, then I'm totally open to exploring that and going further. Then you got your tier 4s. It's just unknown. It's a mystery box. Okay. It's not the thing to look for. And I'm going to challenge you on something is in all the tiers, regardless of which tier you're looking at, never, ever, 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 ever worry about this one thing. Never worry about their finances. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen a salesperson just write off a prospect. They're like, they don't have money. They're from here. They're from there. Sure, if they're from let's say you only service North America and they're from a completely different part of the world and you don't service that area and the time zone, great. Of course, disqualify those calls and do it. But for the most part, you have to remember a prospect that is sold enough, that is engaged enough, that is bought in enough, that is fully committed, they will always figure it out. And if you don't believe me, at some point in time, you were broke. At some point in time, you had financial struggles. At some point in time, you had a setback. You had a restriction. And maybe if not you, and you got lucky throughout the whole journey, someone you knew had setbacks, credit cards, bills up the wazoo, things breaking down, all of that kind of thing. And you know what? No matter what, when it mattered, they always figured it out. It's that whole cliche thing when someone says, well, if someone pointed a gun to someone that you love, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your kid, your dog, and if you're an alien, your cat, okay? And you're like, if someone pointed a gun to them and they said, hey, you need to go and get, $10,000 by next week, 100,000, whatever. You will always go and figure it out. Because guess what? Banks aren't out of money. Credit cards aren't out of money. Their friends aren't out of money. Their parents aren't out of money. Their connections aren't out of money. Their ability to go earn isn't diminished. Most people have a whole bunch of assets. They're like, I got this TV, I got this PlayStation, I got this thing, I got an old car, I got this. They got all these things. Like some people have no money and they're negative and they have like a $30,000 car that they're sitting on that they could sell. And the point of it is, if someone is sold enough, if someone is served enough, especially assuming your offer helps their situation, get healthier, make money, have better relationships. You know what? Someone wanting to find love or find their partner, they will value that if you help them walk through that path. They will value that way more than most of the shit that they own. Because what's the point of all the stuff and all the things that they have, or the money, the credits, or any of that, if they ain't got no love, right? Someone who has bad health, what's the only priority if you have bad health? If you have bad health, you have one goal, it's to get healthy. If you have good health, you have limitless goals. So I'm like, that person who has bad health, it's in their best interest to go figure it out. Because if you actually care about the person, I'm okay with someone going in debt if they have really bad health, and my thing can actually help them. Because I'm like, when you're healthier, you're a better friend, partner, lover, father, servant, everything. When you're bad health, you're just more grumpy and mean. So I'm like, I care more about you. And if your thing helps people make money, it's okay for them to go get resourceful to figure out how to get started. So the key is, regardless of the tier, when you're looking at the prospect tier matrix, is you can't write anyone off. It does not matter. It comes back to the same two questions. Can we help them? Do we want to help them? And your job is to serve at the highest level, especially if you're on a closing call. If your marketing brought them through, if your setter brought them through, I'm like, you're already on the call. Don't write it off. It's done. Like, you cannot check out. I've seen this so many times, like, oh, yeah, they don't have the money, because they give you this like hint, right? Sometimes they give you this hint. They don't have savings, or they have that, or they just had all these setbacks. And I cannot tell you the amount of times I've been blown away, on crazy amounts of money that were summoned up front by prospect that were actually sold. Right? I don't discriminate. I don't look at a person based on their past or any of that, because their past tells me nothing about what's going to happen in the future. All I care is, can we help them? Can we get them results? Are we committed to do that? If we love them, care about, and serve them, and they are sold, and they see, and they connect, and they feel your energy and your presence, and they're like, wow, this person, this guy, this gal actually cares about me, wants to see me when they're committed to me. They're not just in it for the commission, for the business, all of that. They will go and figure it out. I promise you, they will go and figure it out. They will always go and figure it out. They will do what is in their best interest. And your job is to make sure that in their best interest, your offer and service is the best solution, is the thing that helps them get aligned. And if it is, they will go and figure it out. So stop obsessing about the little intricacies. Remember, different tiers, different sales process, different game, different approach. And your job is to figure out, okay, they're in these different tiers. I have to pivot. I have to move. I have to change. And if you're like, hey, I just want more of this. This was great. You got me super bought in. I'm like, there's nothing to tell you. Just click the link below. Join the tribe. Join the community. Make sure you have a profile photo, because if your account looks fake, you'll automatically get banned. So make sure you get on the other side. Click this next video. It's going to help you get even deeper breakthroughs. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with a friend. And we'll see you on the next one.